Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about someone I knew in college, and I don't really know where this thought come from, really. I think I heard something about them and I thought, oh fuck it, I'll make a video on that because it was pretty fucking weird. This video is a bit sensitive to some, so beware. But this guy that I knew was genuinely the biggest villain, and I just want to talk about it. So, in the first time I ever met him, I was in school, and I'm not going to say his name for, I just don't want to get, like, I've been in trouble with this before where I've said someone's name and they got the police to talk to me to take the video down, which was kind of sad, really. Looking back on it, I don't think I had to take the video down, so I don't know why they told me to take it down, unless I'm completely wrong. But anyway, I've never spoken about this guy before. I'm not going to say his name. I don't really care if he sees this, because I don't really care if he knows whether I like him or not. But anyway, I met him in school. I never met him face to face at this point, and it was just for a message. I can't remember, I think a girl messaged me, and she said, can you talk to this guy, can you tell him to leave me alone, blah blah blah. So I texted him, I said, hey man, leave her alone, that's about it. And he said, leave me alone bro, or something like that, or like just being really weird. So I thought, oh fuck it, I don't really care. And then college rolls around. This is like probably, I don't know, maybe, let me do the math, 3 years later, so it's not that far, not that long, but 3 years later, I go to college. Well, I don't go to college, I go to college 2 years later, but 3 years later I join a different course. I do performing arts, which I don't really like to tell many people, because it just, when people see me, they probably notice my very mean and intimidating physique, and then I let them, if I was to tell them anything, like for instance I did performing arts, I'd probably have to kill myself. But I tried to refrain from telling people that I did such a course, but it wasn't that bad. I just think it's a bit goofy for someone like, my size and all that. Anyway, I joined performing arts, and he's there. He's on the course, and he's like, well, to be fair, I saw him on the bus briefly when I was on my other course, which was computing, and I said hello to him. I didn't really remember him at the time. I knew of him, but I didn't remember our encounter very well, so I said hi. I forgot what had happened and all that. It wasn't even like a big deal anyway, but yeah, I said hello, whatever, and then that's it. I kind of, didn't really pay attention. But then when I joined performing arts, he was there in my course, and so we got to talking and we became friends. And I thought, this guy's a chill guy. He smells a bit, but he's alright. And he always had like these weird fucking vests on, which was really weird. He was a tall guy. He's like a bit shorter than me, and he was like not as big as me, but he wasn't small either. Like, he was still a bulky guy. But yeah, anyway, he wasn't like muscly though. It was just kind of like a build between skinny and fat, but he wasn't either. If you get me, it's a really weird body type. Anyway, we got along. He was alright. He was a bit, I hate like saying this because it sounds really vicious, but he was a bit slow. Like, he wasn't as, like, I don't really know how to say it. This sounds really bad, whatever way, so I'm just going to say it. He was a bit socially weird, which I don't really care about. He was, at the end of the day, he was respectful and he was being nice, so I didn't care. And then one day, I go over to the cafeteria, and I'm sat there with someone. I can't remember who I was sat with. I'm trying to think about it, but I can't remember. I was sat there with someone who knew this guy I was friends with. Let's call him Bob. This guy got the same letter as his name. So let's call him Bob. Me and Bob went to the main campus because our performing arts building wasn't on the main campus. So we went onto the main campus, grabbed some lunch from the cafeteria or whatever, and he kind of wandered off. And so I sat down with this guy that joined us. He goes, you know he's a bad dude, right? I'm like, huh? And he goes, yeah, this guy's a bad guy. I'm like, okay. Well, why the fuck are we hanging around with him then? I was really confused. I was like, why? What do you mean bad guy? Like, it can't be that bad, surely. Like, if you're making it sound like he's fucking like the Joker or something. And he goes, yeah, he's like really bad. I'm like, what's he done? I expected it to be so like petty or something. And he goes, you know how he's got a kid? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, he had the kid when his missus was underage. I was like, huh? And I was like, yeah, it's true. He was like 17 or something or whatever, and she was 14. I was like, what the fuck? And again, this is like the first I'm hearing of like anything, and so I'm like, that's really weird. And turns out I think he'd had a kid with the girl that I was defending him from, which was like really fucking weird. So she obviously ignored me at the end of the day. Like, she went and asked me for help and then like got with him anyway. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. So yeah, turns out she was like basically around my age, probably maybe a bit younger than me. But I was like, when he was 17, I think I was about, when I was at the college, let's just say he was 18 and I was 17, I think, yeah, but he was closer to 19 and I was freshly 17. So but yeah, so he was nearly 2 years ahead of me, but he was like a bit old. So what I'm trying to explain in a really stupid way is a bit older. And so apparently he'd impregnated a 14-year-old at 17, which is obviously illegal and very fucking weird. So this kind of like confused the fuck out of me. So I'm like, so knowing this information, I kind of dig a bit on like social media and that to try and confirm it's true. And I see that I already knew that I think I already knew he had a kid, but I didn't really care. Obviously, you know, anyone, so you have the right to have a child if you're like a somewhat reasonable age, but I didn't really think much of it. Yeah, but when I found that out, I did the math and I realised who his missus was, and I did the math on how long she had the kid for. I was like, oh my god, they're right, they're completely fucking right. And so over the past like few months after that, I tried so hard to distance myself from him. And at the time, I didn't like confrontation, so I didn't confront him or anything. Again, what was not my place. What he did was illegal and very weird, and anyone should have told the police. But like, for me to be that person was just really like, it's just stupid. But I just ignored him, which I thought was probably the best thing to do. He made an effort to try and talk to me and blah blah blah, and I was like, nah, fuck it, you know, I don't want to talk to you. But I didn't really like tell him why. I just kind of steered clear. And it turns out everyone else in the college course knew this about him. I was like the last person to find out. I was really confused. I was like, why do you still talk to this guy? I tried so hard to not talk to him, and everybody was like, they'd talk shit behind his back, like most of them there, but then they would be friends with him and like take stuff from him because he was very generous with money. When he had it, he would give people stuff, and I would always reject it because I'm the type of person to, you know, if I don't like you, I won't let you buy me stuff, because it's just like a principle thing. It's like, if I don't like you, I'm not going to then let you buy me something. That's just a really weird, it just kind of, it doesn't make sense to the principle of the whole idea of you not liking someone and then letting them buy you something. I think it just goes back on your word. It's a very contradictory statement. But anyway, I stopped talking to him, and then a few months in, he comes up to me while I'm on my phone. He's like, can I borrow your phone? I'm like, why? He goes, I need to look something up. I go, okay. So he goes onto my phone and he adds his ex on social media, I think, or unless I already had her added, I can't remember. And then he follows her story. He looks on her story, and I'm like, he's like looking at my phone intensely for a good 5 minutes. I swear to God, he was contemplating smashing my phone. I could tell by his eyes. He was genuinely. I reckon he was close to smashing my phone. And at that point, I don't even care how dangerous this guy is. If he was smashing my phone, he's getting jumped. Straight as fuck. I don't even care. I don't care if he stabbed fuck at me. He's getting jumped if he smashed my phone. I don't want, that's my fucking phone, man. He's going to get a good chin in if he did that, but he didn't. He gave my phone back, and then I was a bit, confused as to what he was so, tense about. And so he gives me back my phone, he's like, yeah, thanks, and walks off. And I'm like, he's a bit of a bad mood. So I did a bit of snooping, and I looked at what he could have possibly gone on. I was like, because at the time, he didn't tell me what he was doing, I don't think. So I kind of had to dig through social media to try and look for what he was looking at. And I finally found the variable, which was his ex-missus, and the story thing was, already shown, as if it was seen. So I was like, I must have looked at that. And I looked on it, and she has spilt everything on social media. She has, for some reason, gone on this random, tantrum now, not now, but obviously at the time, about everything he'd done. She was like, oh yeah, I was assaulted at this age, and the father was this age, and for some reason she'd just come clean about it all, and obviously that's what he was looking at. And at the time, they had a good custody arrangement with the kid. He had his son. It was a son. He had his son every so often. She had every so often, and they made it work. So I was really confused as to why they was falling out. And obviously, I understand she's going to harbour a lot of hate for him, growing up realising that the father of her baby is a pedophile. I understand that, but for her to just randomly spill it, I thought was really weird. So he was just in a bad mood. And then nothing ever come of it. And then after the new year, he got into another relationship with a girl I also knew from my school, and she's also very weird. She's got a very weird family. I'm not gonna go into that, but she was just a very weird character. She was nice, but she wasn't the type of person that I'd trust myself being friends with, because again, the conversations that I've had with her just were very fucking strange. So I'm not going to go into it, but so at the end of the day, I thought, they're probably a perfect couple, whatever. Didn't care. They were rough. Again, she was my age. She was older than me, so it was a perfectly fine relationship to be in. Nothing illegal there. Let them at it. Didn't give a fuck. And then a few months later, it comes to light. And again, this is a trigger warning, I think, for anybody that doesn't want to hear the word. It comes out that he has raped her, basically, and he stops coming into college, immediately, stops going to college, and this is this is a really weird subplot, and it ties into the main plot. So before he raped her, they were still together, but they was kind of teetering on the edge of a breakup. And I kid you not, this happened, to celebrate the rekindling of one another. They thought we're drifting apart, so we're going to do something big to bring our relationship to the out of the shallow to the shallow end. And they, for some reason, there was this guy in the, again, it's just so weird, I'm trying to keep you guys on track. There was this, our performing arts building was tied with the music building, and there was a guy on the music course called Casper. And I've done some stuff with Casper. He's a very cool guy. I've done some like I've worked on some stuff with him, and we've been in talks to work on some stuff for the future, blah blah blah, and we're still in talks, whatever. He's a very nice guy. I like him. He's a good guy. For some reason, they just decided that they didn't like him. Don't know why. So to celebrate their relationship, and again, the best way to describe these two at this point were like fucking Fred and Rose West. They were very weird, and they decided that they would play with his feelings by pretending that his Bob's missus liked him, and so she started texting him on social media just to pretend that she liked him and just play with his feelings. And Bob was okay with this. He was like all for it. He thought it was funny to basically try and break this guy's heart. What Bob didn't know, and what we all knew, again, I've told you Bob's very socially unaware. Bob didn't know that his missus actually stupidly started to catch feelings for this guy. Again, I've told you the guy is I don't know if he'll want me to say his name. I'll call him. Let's call him Kai for now. Again, it's the same letter as the first letter of his name as well. She started to catch feelings for Kai because he's a very nice guy. I told you he's a very nice guy. I like him. He's great. And so she started catching feelings for him because he actually treated her a lot better. And this was all happening under Bob's nose. And Bob started to catch a bit of wind about this. And he kind of come up to me and he was like, "Do you know anything about them two?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Are they fooling around?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I don't think so." Because he'd already let me know about the plan. He was like, "Oh, this is happening. But don't worry." Kai also knew about the plan. Don't worry. We all made sure that he knew very well that this was happening. And he knew. Anyway, the girl was trying to make it very hard, trying to make it very kind of, secretive that she liked Kai, but at the same time try and keep Bob happy. Because again, he's like a fucking ticking time bomb. And then obviously after a while, it comes out that he has done that to her, and he stops coming into college. And she was off for a bit too, blah blah blah. And I see Kai at college. And Kai's like filling me in on the situation basically. And he's like, "I don't want you guys talking to him. I don't want you guys being friends with him." And we're like, "Yeah, of course, man. We're not endorse this behaviour." And I was already perfectly fine with not talking to him anyway. But everybody else was like, "Yeah, sure." And he just stopped coming to college. There was a whole police investigation. Nothing ever come of it. He was never arrested. But basically, there was a written confession. This is the worst part about it. There was a written confession about the whole thing. And yeah, it was very warped. Someone texted Bob and said, "Why would you do that to her, man? Why did you do that to her?" And he basically said, oh no, he didn't basically say, this was verbatim what he said. "I don't know, man. Fucking hell," he said. "I don't know, man. I don't know what came over me. I wasn't myself." Okay, so maybe not verbatim, but something along the lines of that. But yeah, basically admitted it on text message, screenshotted the lot, but because it wasn't a written confession, I raped so-and-so, because it wasn't that, I guess technically they couldn't use it. But to anyone with, again, obviously I'm fully aware that the law operates on its own kind of grandiose scale. It's like there's technicalities and loopholes and blah blah blah, and there's just some stuff you just can't bypass. Fair enough, I get it. It has to be that sturdy for a reason, so nothing can slip through the cracks. I get it. But for obviously people with a fucking screwed on noggin, you can see that he has admitted this crime, which is very bad. And so at this point, he's not only a pedophile, but he's a rapist, and a pedophile is technically a rapist because it's under the age of consent, so is rape. But Yeah, it was just fucking crazy how he's admitted it, and no one could do anything. And his mum, again, his mum, Bob's mum, I met, I think, a couple of times. She was a lovely woman, and the fact that she had to hear about this, from her son, and pretend it wasn't true, because she still looked after him and all that. But the fact that she, had to go through that, I can't imagine how hard that was. Again, obviously she, did the wrong thing and stuck by him, which, you can all kind of make your own minds up about that, but I think that is personally bad. But I do understand how that would be hard. But yeah, he just stopped, coming in, and because there was obviously the police investigation, and yeah, nothing ever come of it. He's still about today. I'm pretty sure he's in another relationship. Again, none of us talk, no one talks to him. I don't think so. There might still be a few, snakes here and there, but most of us don't. But it was just a crazy situation. We was going to college with Judge Holden. Literally, this guy was an evil piece of shit. A rapist, a pedophile. There's just nothing good about him. He was violent. He was nasty to people. He had these good things about him that he thought would make up for the bad things, but those are the two most unforgivable crimes that you could ever commit. And there was all the bullshit stories that come out with as well, man. Even if he, imagine he didn't commit these crimes, but these fucking stories should have been reason enough for us to stop being friends with him anyway. He would tell me stories such as, one time he got into a fight at the local park, which is where I lived. Apparently he got into a fight there, and someone stabbed him with a knife, but because he's thick-skinned and he happened to have a packet of fake blood on him, he managed to fake his death and then surprise his attacker when he turned his back and beat him up. That was one of his stories, and I found this so funny. I managed to get him to repeat it again in college to a couple friends that were there, and they couldn't believe what he was saying. It was crazy stories like that. And the guy, his ego was genuinely so massive. He thought he was the most handsome bloke ever. He thought he was the most smartest guy ever. At one point, he claimed to have superpowers. I'm not kidding. He claimed to have. Oh, this was from the stabbing thing. He claimed to have regenerative healing. I'm not kidding. And he claimed to have superhuman hearing. We was crossing the road once, and there was blatantly no traffic there. So I went to cross, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, bro. I'll tell you when they're not coming. I can hear them." I just looked at him, got out. I said, "Oh, really?" I couldn't believe what he just said. And funnily enough, no cars come for a bit. And then when he said it was time to go, a load of cars flooded. So, very, very confusing human being. But yeah, don't know what's happened to him recently. I saw him a couple of times in town after the whole ordeal. I just kind of didn't talk to him. He was on the bus once, and I think this was about a year after the ordeal. Again, no one's spoken to him. Oh shit, he did message me, and I would text him back trying to get a story out of him so I could, talk about it further. I think I was going to make a video about it at the time, but his responses were just so shit I couldn't do anything with it. I was basically just trying to make awareness at the time, and to be fair, I actually was at the time going to make a full-on video exposing him, but it's been so long now I just can't be bothered with anything that might come out of it. But yeah, he saw me in town a year after the whole ordeal. He was boarding the bus, and he yells out to me, "You've put on a bit of weight recently," and then laughs. And I looked back, and I don't know if he heard, but I said, "You've put on a bit of rape recently." I don't know why I thought that was a good joke. Well, it wasn't a joke, it's true. I wasn't in the mood for his bullshit. I didn't like the guy. So I said that, and again, I was confused to why he was even in the town anyway, seeing as that's where the music guy resided, who was with Bob's ex-missus at the time, and if the music guy caught Bob there, he would definitely have filled him in. So again, why he was wandering around, I don't know, especially because the music guy walked around with a group of people. But yeah, I don't know, a very weird situation. But yeah, I haven't spoken to him since. A very unlikable guy, very awful guy. Probably the worst person I've ever met. Yeah, definitely, yeah. Top of the list. But yeah, I thought I'd talk about it. Just genuinely one of the most goofiest bozos I've ever met. Yeah, that's it. Peace.